All right, hey everyone, welcome to the stream. Sorry for the delay, we just had some technical issues, but we are good to go now. And with me is another special guest for one-on-one lesson, Mr. Opferschach. How's it going today?
Yeah. So, hello everyone. So, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Daniel. Hello, Natalie. Hello. Um, I talked to Kostya prior to this lesson, and as I see it, my greatest problem, or one of my greatest problems chess-wise, concerns the late endgame and the late middle game and the early endgame. This way. Um, yeah, for those of you who play only classical, we probably haven't played yet, and we're not likely to play in the near future because I don't play classical. I only play like fast chess, and the reason for that is most of the time I just don't know what I should be thinking about. And even if I play 15 plus 10, it's very rare that by the end of the game I am at my last seconds. I usually have 5 minutes by the end of the game. So, but I'm making progress. I started as a Blitz player. I only played Blitz at the beginning. Now I'm moving to Rapid, probably at the Cartier, no, that's not so easy, no. So, but today we are not going to talk about the opening because I think the opening is not a problem with my chess. I think I have a very good understanding of basic opening principles and even advanced opening principles. It's like hardly ever that Opferschach game. No, it's hardly ever happens that I'm lost by the end of the opening. Yeah, we are going to talk, as I hope, about the late middle game, the end game. This is the problem.
Well, I mean, we'll see. There's a lot. There's a lot to discuss. Let's back it up a little bit. How long have you been playing chess?
So it's not like it continues because I learned the rule as a kid. Then I played a little bit. Not. I played online on ChessCube mostly in 2012 and 2013. Then I kind of quit it. I never meant to quit, but just like life got in the way. And I started again last year because like everybody started last year.
Oh, I see. So you kind of picked it back up last year. Because I noticed your chess.com account basically starts like July 2020.
Yes, and so my Lichess account.
Okay, cool. Cool. So yeah, we can kind of consider this like your first year of really kind of like seriously putting in some effort into the game, studying, training, trying to get better, like things of this nature. Well, speaking of what does a typical training or studying look like for you? What are you usually working on?
I don't think I have very typical. I have a number of books, and if I feel like going through the books, I'm doing it. Like here I have The Art of Sacrifice by Spielman.
Oh, cool, cool.
So, and what I like about the book, it has a lot of text. I don't know if you can see it, but it has a lot of text. And only after that, it has examples. So he first talks about what you should be thinking during the game. And then it has examples. And it is actually my problem. I don't know what should I be thinking during the game.
Right.
Yeah, and I have a number of other books, like I have a tactic book here, chess tactics. I have a book on defense, chess defense by Lothar Nikolaichuk.
Who's the author? Sorry.
Lothar Nikolaichuk, you probably don't know. He's not a titled player, but he's a prolific author in German.
Oh, cool.
So he wrote a book on But I defense, so I have it. I have a book on Scandinavian opening. Sometimes I play the Scandinavian
Okay,
here.
nice.
And yeah, some other books.
Wow, a lot of books in German. I mean, I know they have like really rich history, of course, so that makes sense. um, and okay, so we'll definitely lots to talk about, especially like in terms of the time control. Yeah, I noticed looking at your account, mainly Blitz, some Rapid, but like the longest time control you'll play is like 15:5.
Yeah, 15:10 also.
Okay, okay. And that is something that I would say um, I would encourage you to do is just try to play some longer games. I know you have a question about like, what you should be thinking about during the game. Hopefully, we can kind of discuss this. Short answer is there's lots to be thinking about and lots to be calculating. Different variations that could happen, different things to consider from the opponent, and things of this nature. Um, well, let's take a look at one of the games that you submitted, and maybe some things will come up. I'm going to start with the one you sent, just the PGN text. You mentioned this was probably a good game to look at. Okay. Um, and I don't think you mentioned it here, but what was the time control for this game?
15 plus 10.
Okay, cool, cool. Oh, let me invite you to the board as well. Just a sec. I'm gonna send you a link in Discord. You should be able to join from there. Might have to be logged in to
Yeah.
chess.com first.
Yeah, of course.
All right. Okay, you're here. Great. So, okay, well, we'll skip the opening for now. Basically, as I understand, what happens in this game is you end up winning a piece
Yes.
um, through some complications, and let's say here, somewhere around this point, I think, where we can start just kind of going through your thought process a little bit. And honestly, it's not the craziest game. I mean, I know you end up losing this one. You're probably upset by that, but like this stuff can happen, especially when we don't know how to convert a position. It's like it just starts slipping away little by little, and then as the game progresses, the opponent ends up getting
Yeah, it
some
is very
chances.
common for my games. It is very common. In the middle game, I'm always like +4, +5, like every single move +4, +5. But somehow by the end of the middle game, I'm not longer +4, but like +1.
Right.
And by the end game, I totally lost. By the end of the game.
Yeah. So I have some theories about why this might be happening. I know people give you a lot of grief over your opening. Honestly, I'm definitely not a fan, but I would agree that it's not your biggest problem. It's not what's necessarily holding you back. I think at this level, you can pretty much play anything, and you're evidence for that. Pretty much play anything, and like you can still get a very reasonable position. So it 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 is something that I would encourage you to change up at some point, because the issue is not even so much the opening. It's just like it's more about the mindset. Like I say the same thing about like the London system, which is like a super solid opening. But if you kind of play the same thing over and over again, you get the same positions over and over again.
No, I actually
It's very limiting.
I also play other openings like the Scandinavian.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, okay. I didn't see too much of that. All the games I looked at, it was always H4, H5.
No, I mostly play H4, H5, but not exclusively.
Okay. And then with white, do you ever do anything different?
Uh, I play Saragossa.
Wait, which one is that? Sorry.
One C3.
On C3. Okay.
Yeah.
A little bit better, but um, at some point I would just encourage you to basically branch out, like learn different
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
structures, new
Sure, sure,
openings.
sure.
I think this would be very
Sure,
useful.
sure, sure, sure.
Um, well, let's take a look at this game a bit. And actually, I guess I'll ask you, I would say at this point, um, we we miss a clear win. Maybe you could try
Yeah.
to find it now. Because we play HG, but you have, let's say, much stronger move.
So let's check.
Mm-hmm.
And the king goes probably here.
Yeah, it's a king h8. Yeah.
Uh, so we can even then is a take or take here or go here. Let's take.
HG. Yeah, you take
Yeah.
another pawn. You threaten g7,
Yeah,
just winning
yeah,
the
yeah,
rook.
yeah.
And I think if you find this like one thing, the game is over. It's just lost. And I think you'll convert it from here. Now, something I noticed in your games is I do feel like you're kind of missing a lot of these like little tactics. Now your puzzle rating is like 23, 2400,
Yeah.
right? Which is quite good. So it's not that your tactics are bad. I just get the feeling that during the game we're not in this kind of tactical mindset where we're looking for tactics.
That's probably true. That's probably true.
And to me, I think this is a result of the blitz and the rapid, because when you're playing a lot of blitz, you have to play quickly, of course, and you don't really have time to think. That's the problem. So your opponent plays g6. Okay, they're threatening to play g5 and take a bunch of space maybe, or like take your pawn, for example. And it's just very natural to just immediately take and then continue the game. And this happens a lot in blitz, where it's like you just make the first like quick move. Not just you, but people who play blitz. Like you just see the first like reasonable move, you play it, and then game continues. So this is kind of the feeling that I'm getting. It's that we're not being too concrete. We're just kind of looking for, let's say, first solid move we can find, and then just playing that, right? And so this can lead to blunders, because like we're not fully appreciating the opponent's tactics, and also leads to misses where it's like, again, if this is like a puzzle for you on the tactics trainer, you probably solve it pretty quickly. But in a game, you have to kind of put yourself into this zone where you're looking for tactics consistently. Now, how do you do that when you don't have a lot of time, right? Because if you think for 5-10 seconds on every move looking for tactics in a 3-minute game, you're gonna run very low on time. My response to that is, well, you kind of have to build up this skill, and the way you build it up is by practicing in slower chess. So you give yourself 30 minutes, right, instead of 5 minutes or 3 minutes, and then you tell yourself like, okay, I'm going to be looking for tactics every move, and if my opponent blunders something, I'm really going to try hard to catch them. As you get better at doing that, you will also get better at spotting these things in faster and faster time controls. So this is kind of one of the main benefits, I would say, of like playing a longer time control, is that you give yourself time to actually think about different options in the position, and you're not necessarily looking for just the first solid move you can find. And then this isn't the only example. Let's say we go to so keep going, keep going. Let's say we go to this position here. You have you played rook d7, which I totally understand, like defending the pawn. But you have another tactic that I think would be better for white. Maybe you could take a sec to try to consider another option here.
Oh, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
You say this is a tactical position. I have a tactic here.
Yeah, not like you win the game on the spot, but I would say you have a better move than rook d7, and
Here?
um,
No?
no, not quite this one. You know, black will
Here,
trade
here.
and yeah, take on d6.
Ah, here.
I think rook h7 is not bad, although black will just play, you know, king g6 there.
No, I don't see it.
Oh, that's fine. I don't want to put you on the spot too much. You can play rook takes c4. You can take this pawn.
Oh, okay.
And we're trading pawns. It's not like you're winning, but I mean, as you recognize probably during the game, these two pawns ended up giving you a
Yeah.
lot of trouble. And if you just take this one off, let's say rook takes, and then let's say you just get your king out of the way, you're going to have a much easier time winning this position now that black doesn't have two connected passers. Now all of black's remaining pawns are weak, and if we can use our extra piece, should be able to convert.
Mhm.
Now in this game, I mean, bishop gets a little bit stranded on b5. Like it's defended, it's solid, but it's not helping you attack any of black's pawns. Right? It's like you would much rather have your bishop on h3, for example. So this is just kind of a like strategic thing. When we have an extra piece, probably actually I think your bishop's probably better on c4 than it is on b5. I mean, I understand why you put it here. You're like trying to push d7. It just doesn't end up, we just never end up having time for this. So it's these kinds of things that it's like, I guess there's a, I don't know if it's a phrase, there's a kind of a principle. It's very hard to win a game without tactics. Like you could have the most winning position, completely outplaying your opponent, you know, just strategically winning, but eventually you're going to have to calculate something to break through. Unless your opponent, like, okay, if they hang their queen, they hang their rook, like obviously you can just take it and win the game. But for the most part, if the opponent is not blundering and just trying to hold on, it's very difficult to win a game without using any kind of tactical ideas. Now, someone mentioned Capablanca in the chat. Capablanca is a great player to study, to work on like your strategic thinking, especially in like middle games and end games. I would recommend him for you and pretty much everyone out there. But even his games aren't without tactics. You know, he finds lots of these little tricks. He finds lots of these little ideas, or like he plays a move where the opponent's most natural defense is not possible because he has some tactic to win a pawn or something, and so the opponent has to come up with something else. So I would say just looking from your games, like this is maybe the main thing I would encourage you to think about is really just looking for more quick tactics during your games, and especially for the opponent as well. This is really important because I saw a few games where, you know, we hang something, we hang a fork, double attack, lose material. Happens to everyone, of course. You're not the only one by far, but it's like if it's a tactic that you would normally see very quickly, you know, like in a puzzle, but we don't see it in the game, then it means that there's our focus is like not in the right place, right? Because it's not like you're not capable of seeing the tactic. It's just that during the game you're not consciously kind of looking for the opponent's resources, looking for the opponent's checks and captures and things of this nature. Um, so okay, that's kind of my my main thing. I would say I noticed also you have kind of a tendency to blockade a lot, like this rook on f4 is kind of like a blockading piece. But the rook on f4 is also very limited in its mobility. You also sent me a game. Actually, maybe I'll just quickly put it up against AFM Hughes. Let me switch over to this one where not sure if you remember this game, but you have like a really nice position here. And then you played rook b8, bishop d2, and then rook h5. And I could kind of understand why we're making this move, but at the same time, we also have to recognize that the rook now is a lot less mobile, right? Because on h8, you have the option to switch to the center, switch to the queen side whenever you want. On h5, you're only putting pressure on h4 and not doing anything else. So if this pawn is defended, then the rook on h5, it just feels like it's kind of a stuck piece. So this is one thing maybe just worth considering during your games, that we don't always want to blockade, especially rooks don't really make such great blockaders because again, it reduces their mobility, and also, it's easy to target a rook with like a minor piece and then it has to
Well, I don't have any knights on the board.
You don't have knights, yeah, but you don't have to put a piece on this square. That's the thing. You have other advantages in the position. Specifically, your two bishops are very strong. I don't know if you remember this game too clearly, but what was your idea with this move rook to b8? Was this connected with some kind of plan?
What's the page?
It was a little while.
No, I don't remember at the moment. Sorry.
Okay, I was thinking maybe you're trying to play a5 b4, and so you're like just defending the pawn ahead of time.
Yeah.
Which makes perfect sense. So, but then once white plays here, maybe we were a little bit concerned with rook h1 and then like h5, and then this is why you decide to kind of plug it. Just my guess. But let's say you followed like the plan. Let's say you push a5 and you're trying to play b4 and gain space, which I think is a very good plan in the position to kind of do this. Let's say white does play rook h1. Now you play b4. And once this knight moves, black is getting bishop e4 check. Whoops. Yeah, and just winning the exchange. So in fact, white can't do this one. If white plays rook h1, you play b4.
Yeah.
You're winning material, right? So this is the kind of thing that it's not like. This is the kind of thing that's hard to just quickly find in Blitz because it requires you to do a little bit of calculation. So you have to see a few moves ahead here. This is the kind of thing that you can be thinking about during the game. Like let's say you have 20 minutes on your clock, your opponent plays bishop d2, you recognize that their idea is to go rook h1 and h5 and try to get some counterplay. So rather than playing kind of like first instinct move rook h5 just to kind of stop this, you can also think about how can you get your counterplay going. And then this is the kind of calculation you'd be making, or like I play a5, white goes rook h1, I play b4, knight is hanging. So if they play h5, then we're just taking the knight, winning the piece. So h5 is not possible. You go back to this position in your visualization after b4 and you think, well, where can the knight go? Maybe knight a4, maybe knight a2. And then if you're visualizing that position, which I think you can, because again, if you're getting to like 2,400 in puzzles, it means you probably have at least some visualization ability. And you can see this one is kind of killing white's idea. But that's not something I would expect you to just see in like 5-10 seconds. This could be a minute, 2 minutes of focused calculation. Now, some top Blitz players, grandmasters, they do see this stuff super, super fast. They just, quickly calculate the lines. But they've been playing chess, for years and years and years, right? At such a high level, it's like they've developed this speed and visualization that is very hard to replicate without, same kind of experience. So this is kind of like my main advice for you, is that I feel like your strategic understanding is perfectly fine. Maybe one of your strengths actually. Like I don't see you making a lot of weaknesses in your position. I see you putting your pieces on like normal squares. And I do see you outplaying like strong players just from like strategic positions. Like in this game, your opponent is like 1800, like 600 points higher, and after 20 moves, you basically have like decisive endgame advantage. So I don't think it's your strategy that's holding you back. I think it's just the mindset during the game. We have to be willing to enter kind of like more tactical situations and learning to kind of look for these tactics. Is that making sense?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, okay, great. Um, so yeah, how do you work on this exactly? Well, of course, solving lots of puzzles is good because that helps your like tactical vision. But I really think it comes down to just your mood and your attitude during the game, where you have to be kind of willing to look for these ideas. Let me put another example, and this is just from the games you sent me. But let's look at this one. Okay, this was a weird opening, even even for you. As you play h4, your opponent goes for bomb cloud for some. Was there some special story behind this game, or is that your
So,
opponent's like
so my opponent is a FM, okay,
right?
and he can think he can play whatever he wants.
Yeah, but how did you guys get paired in the first place?
It was some tournament. I play a lot of tournaments.
Oh,
Yeah.
gotcha.
And I
Um,
think it was a tournament organized by another streamer, Marjorie Herrera.
got it. Okay, and then
And it was an arena, I think, Rapid Arena.
yeah, 10-minute game. Okay,
Yeah, it was a 10-minute arena, and we got paired because it's an arena.
right. I guess yeah. You play h4. He thinks you're trolling, so he decides to troll back.
And I decided to troll back. Yeah,
And
okay,
then
but
yeah, and then you also this one honestly I didn't get because like he's giving you golden opportunity to pull off like the upset of your life, right? Like he's like 2400 player, and he's just giving you
no, I don't.
absolutely winning position.
I'm not interested.
But what do you
Sorry.
mean?
I'm not interested to winning like from this if I just don't play some inferior moves in this position. But if I win like here, like from the here position,
Mm-hmm.
from this position, not interested.
Why not?
No, because it won't be an interesting game. So you can show too much on.
You can checkmate an FM from the opening. I mean, I feel like that's pretty.
I'm not interested. Sorry, I'm interested to play a longer game.
All right. Well, I mean, but you're still trying to win after you put your king on e3.
Yeah. After here, I'm trying to win. Yes.
Okay.
Now,
yeah.
now, I'm interested again. Okay.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, your opponents they're gonna play dubious stuff all the time, So it's like you got to learn how to punish it. But okay, let's go on. So let's go to the key moment here. Right here, white to play.
So what's wrong with my move?
Not a whole lot. Just you have something much better.
Yeah? Okay. How about this one? No.
G4 is a normal move, strategic, but I'm asking you to find a tactic here.
To find the tactics. Okay. Maybe we take. Yeah.
Yeah. Game over.
Okay. Yeah.
So you see, like you can find this, right? But you have to. Number one, you have to have time, and then you have to be willing
Okay,
to use the
but
time.
Kostya, if you look at this position, right?
Yeah,
Yes, you could. It's an interesting position.
sure.
Do you agree?
Yeah.
So if I prefer miss this chance and have an instructive moment, then checkmate from this position and have no instructive moments.
I mean, I don't know. I think it's like in a tournament, you should be kind of focused
Yeah.
on winning, and like honestly, it's not a guarantee that you checkmate the guy. You know, so I would say it's not like you just win the game if you play uh, seriously here. So I would say like first show that you can beat the guy like when he's messing around, and then next time he'll play more seriously against you, knowing that you're gonna punish him if he fools around too much.
Okay.
You know. But anyway, I mean, I see your point. It's honestly to me that's not a big deal. Um, the bigger issue again is just that we're kind of just playing like one move at a time. Like we see b5 that looks good, like from strategic point of view, and we just play it. And it's not a bad move. It's just that if we do this too much, we're gonna miss opportunities.
Mm.
Like knight takes c4.
Yeah, I agree.
And so this is kind of the main thing. And then yeah, like two moves later, um, here once again we have a white to play and win.
Wow. Really?
Yeah.
Okay, let's try the same.
Yeah, game over. And that's it. And that's it. So this is just again, it just comes down to like if you're not looking for it, if you don't tell yourself like look for the tactics, look for the forcing moves, it's really easy to miss it. And in fact, I mean, the world's best players miss tactics all the time and they blunder stuff all the time. And it's mainly because just in that moment, their focus wasn't there, or their focus was on something else, or they were thinking about the strategy of the position. No one's telling them, white to play and win, or if you make this move, it's a blunder, black to play and win. That's just a skill that chess players have to develop. And a very important skill. Like, so when I'm playing, a classical game, I'm checking every move. As soon as my opponent moves something, I pretend it's white to play and win. And then if I find something, great. If I don't find something, then I go back to like, okay, strategic thinking. How do I improve my position? What should I do here, etc. And before I make a move in a tournament game, I double check. I'm like, okay, am I hanging something? Does my opponent have some forcing moves, some checks? Is there anything I'm not noticing? So if your opponent has like some check, right, that you're not aware of, and you haven't looked at it yet, then that's a big risk, right? Because it could just be a winning move. It could be like a fork or like a check, and they take something. And so if we're not like aware of it, then it's very easy to blunder. Now again, can you do this in a blitz game? No, it's very hard because if you take 5-10 seconds every move in a blitz game, you're going to run low on time very quickly, and eventually you'll flag, or you just won't have time and you'll end up blundering anyway with 3 seconds on your clock. But that's why I'm encouraging you to just like play slower games to get into this practice of just like every move checking for tactics. And yeah, I mean, many of your opponents will hink something for you to find, and so then it's up to you to kind of capitalize on that. Um, yeah, people asking about respect in the chat. Well, I don't know if it's necessarily about respect. I think my point is just like if your opponent plays a bad opening or is trolling you, just beat them, right? Like that's how you win. If you win the game, they're gonna feel ridiculous. So that's my only point. Um, but yeah, and it's not like it's 100% game over here. I'm just saying white gets a decisive advantage, and if white continues to play well, then white should win the game. But of course, the game will continue. Black will fight on, but white has now broken through.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Okay. Any questions so far?
No, so far it's okay.
Cool. Okay, let's jump to another one here. Yeah, okay, just another kind of simple example. Just not to like just kick a dead horse too much, but it just kind of shows the problem with blitz and why so many coaches are like, blitz isn't great for your chess because it encourages bad habits. That's the thing. Okay, in this game, again, your opponent feels triggered by your opening, starts messing around, and we play queen b3 here. Black plays a5, and then a4. Now I understand a4, again, from strategic point of view, you're taking space, you're not letting your opponent push a4. But let's just take a sec here to think about what else white can do. Yeah, queen of 7, right? I mean, of course, I know you can find this, but it's just like when we're playing blitz, like, okay, this was a 5-minute game. It's like, it's so easy to fall into this trap of just being very reactive. Like the opponent plays a5 and then we react a4, right? Without actually looking at the position, with like clear eyes and looking for our options. Actually, someone posted in the Discord an example of this that is, again, pretty typical, where actually, let me see. I don't know if I'll be able to find it, but basically they had bishop on c4, and they're like attacking a rook on f7 with check. There's like a king on g8, and there's another rook on e8, and they have a rook on b7. And so they're threatening to just like take one rook on f7 with check, and then take the second rook. Does that make sense?
It's hard to visualize without seeing the game.
yeah. Let me just quickly, like, it was similar to this.
Okay.
Basically this position or something.
Yeah, okay.
And there's some pawns or whatever. Basically, white is threatening to just win 2 rooks, and white has some pawns somewhere. And then black does something totally unrelated. Just I want to kind of. I know I'm not going to get it right, but I'll just kind of show vaguely what happens. It's something like this, and what black should do is like play rook c8 and pin the bishop. And then it's still kind of unclear. There's some other pawns on the board. What black does instead is they go b5. And guess what white does?
I guess it's not taking the rook.
That's right. Yeah, they go ab5. This is
Right.
like super reactive, right? And then their opponent figures out, oh, they need to go rook c8, and then the game was like, total mess from there, and white lost, I think. So it's not just you. This kind of thing happens all the time, and it's just a problem with blitz. It's just like you're training to play quickly, but of course, when we play fast, it's like so much more likely to get it. We call it tunnel vision. When you're just focusing on one thing and then not really seeing the full picture. And so this is very typical issue with blitz play. So yeah. So again, yeah, my advice, try to play, more rapid G15. I would suggest even longer, like classical chess, I think is really useful. Um, and and when you're thinking about like, what to think about during your move, it's I think useful to try to be more concrete. What I mean by that is you're considering a move, you want to consider some responses for the opponent, and then you're considering your move after that, right? Versus how I think a lot of players look at it, where they just see a position, they look for any one move. They might consider a couple options on move one, like playing here, playing here, playing there, and then you just choose the one that looks best, right, from just strategic point of view. But then we're just playing one move at a time, right? We're not kind of thinking ahead. So this is what you use the time for when you have more time on the clock. You actually try to anticipate the opponent's response, what they're going to do, and then you think about what you're going to do after that. Actually, let me give you a kind of nice example for this to kind of just demonstrate. So yeah, I think this would be kind of a good position. So here, this is black to play. You might have to flip the board on your end. And in this game,
Yes.
yeah, well, black came up with a combination. Their idea was to go queen h2 check, king f2, and then bishop takes g4. And now the point here is, well, number one, if fg, there's knight e4 check, and white's king is in big danger. If king runs away, then queen takes g2, black wins the piece back, totally winning. If king f3, then there's knight g5 check. Black can also play a move like f5, and then the idea is just to put a rook on f8, take this one, and white's king is again just basically getting mated here. If hg, then the point is queen h4 check. King is forced to go back to g1, and now bishop h2 leads to mate. Okay. But after black took on g4, here white started thinking, and they realized, well, hg is bad, I'm getting mated. Fg is also very dangerous. There's knight e4. So let's think about it from white's point of view. What other move can white consider here? Because black just took a pawn. So if white just does nothing, then the game is also kind of over, because black took one pawn, threatening to take a second pawn. So let's say white can't really take back on g4, but what other moves can white consider here?
Besides this.
Rook h1, exactly, very good. And rook h1 actually kind of kills black's attack, because now let's say queen moves back, white takes the piece, black doesn't get enough.
Yeah.
So going back to this position, let's say after the game, black realized, oh, I should have taken here first when white doesn't have this rook h1. Because now, however way white takes, now I'll go queen h2, and then I get all the same ideas, right? So if hg, we have queen h2 once again, queen h4, and it's game over. And if fg, then again queen h2, knight e4, and yeah, super strong attack with f5 or knight g5 check, also good, like taking here, and white's position is also collapsing. Like you can go back and this one again, and yeah, game over. Now in a blitz game, I would imagine that most players, they play this move first, and then they start calculating here, and then maybe they find bishop takes g4, and who knows what might happen. Maybe white finds rook h1, maybe they don't, etc. But of course, it's like, this is where the calculation should start, right? Not once you commit with queen h2 check. This is where you should kind of plan things out. And so it is very like kind of hopefully a simple example of like you kind of have to think about things ahead of time. Otherwise, you're committing to something. You're committing to bringing the queen to h2, and then once you get here, well, now it's already too late to realize like, oops, I should have started with bishop takes g4. Right, so it's like a question of the move order. So this is, again, the type of thinking that, again, very hard to do in a blitz game unless you're a very experienced player and you have really quick calculation. But in a classical game, if you have 25 minutes here, you have some time to kind of sort through the variations and look for different options. So the general rule of thumb that a lot of coaches try to instill is like, when you make a move, you want to kind of anticipate what the opponent is going to do. At least you have some expectation of how the opponent will react. And then you have your follow-up to that, right? Or if, let's say, you think the opponent might respond 2 or 3 different ways, then you have a follow-up to each of those moves as well. Now, if you want to go deeper, you can go deeper, of course, but that's kind of that's the starting point. So it's like, instead of calculating one move ahead, we ask you to try to look 3 moves ahead. And then again, if you can go deeper, definitely go deeper, right? Because sometimes many times that's not going to be enough to really fully investigate the position. But if we're only playing like one move at a time, like we're just, let's say playing the first move, we can find, then it's like, it's a gamble, right? Because you might end up in a position where you no longer have good moves, or you might realize like, oh no, I missed my chance. I could have done something different earlier. And now it's too late.
What was this game?
Sorry?
What was this game? Who was the players?
I have no idea. It's just an example I got from a book. Yeah.
Okay.
I think it is a real game, but in fact, I'm not even sure if I got the story right. I think in the game, Black might have played this one, but I think it's very, very easy to imagine someone playing check and takes first.
Okay.
Let me give you another example just to kind of maybe practice this skill a little bit. Yeah, let's take a look at this one. Okay.
Are we looking at it for black or for white?
We're looking at this one from Black's point of view.
Okay.
Let's say you have this position with Black, and you're considering the move Queen d2 with the mate threat.
Yes.
So first, let's ask, how is White going to respond to this one?
Let's try this.
Oh, the rook f2. Good. Yeah, that would be kind of the first defense I would consider. Okay, so Black was kind of thinking during this game, like, okay, if I go Queen d2, White has rook f2. Then I can go maybe Queen d1 check. White has to go back. And then I have this move f2.
Okay.
So what's the point of f2? Well, rook can't take, rook is pinned. If king takes, not sure how comfortable you are with the visualization, but Black has rook takes f5 in that position.
Uh-huh.
So rook takes f5 check, and then rook on f1 will be hanging. So let's say here, check, and f2. Nice shot. King g2, there's just queen f3 mate. So king takes, rook takes f5, and black wins. Black is winning a piece, breaking through, and white is, yeah, at least losing the rook, but maybe even getting mated soon.
Yeah.
So this line is working. And based on this line alone, a lot of players would probably just play queen d2 and, yeah, expect to win. But on queen d2, there's a second defense. Maybe you could try to find it for white. How else can white deal with the mate threat?
We don't have any pieces.
Yeah, white is a pretty...
No, in this area, in the area of the king.
I know. Queen, rook, everything is
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
misplaced. There's another way to cover the g2 square.
No, we can cover with the knight, but just take it.
Yeah, knight e3 is no good, but there's another direction.
Here.
Knight h4. Okay, exactly. Knight h4 is not an easy move to see because it's like a backwards move. It's very illogical, but it is findable. And so black realized, okay, well, if I go queen d2, okay, rook f2 is winning, but knight h4, I don't know exactly how I'm breaking through there. So based on that, what move could you start with in order to kind of make this combination work? You take first. Yeah, exactly. Now, if we just see the same line, like let's say e takes f5, queen d2 check, queen d2, rook f2 now only move, queen d1 check, rook f1, and again we have f2 here, going back to the other variation and winning the game. And so, yeah, again, it's just another type of example where it's like no top player sees this position and like, oh, rook takes f5 is the move. No one thinks like that. They don't just like intuitively guess. What they do is they look at, let's say, the most direct move. They understand that like maybe there's some detail why it's not working, knight h4, and they kind of work their way backwards to this position. They go, aha, I guess I should start with this one first, actually. But this wouldn't be like the first candidate move, for a lot of players. Or if it is, then it would be combined, let's say, with like queen e3 check because they want to give this check or something and make that work. But for many decisions made at the chessboard, it's often not the player's first instinct. A lot of times the first instinct is close, but it's not quite there, or it's wrong. But like kind of by doing that analysis, you slowly come to the right solution because you realize that there might be one very accurate move order to do things. And if we're just playing like, let's say, one move at a time, then it's, big risk we're taking that it might not work out in the end. I have many examples like this I could show you. But hopefully it's making sense.
Yeah.
Questions? Any questions?
No, I don't have any questions at the moment, but maybe if I think about it, I can pose those questions to you later. Okay?
Absolutely. Yeah. I'd be happy to. Okay, cool. Well, I think we'll finish it up there.
Yeah, I know, Kostya, you are a stat teacher, but of course, I didn't expect you to make me master in one lesson. Can we have another lesson like this?
Of course. Okay. I'd be happy to work again.
Okay.
No, I'm happy to train everyone. We're gonna make a lot of masters out of the dojo. But okay, that's my advice. Try to play longer time controls.
Yeah.
Keep in mind that your opponents will blunder tactics and give you chances, but it's still up to you to spot them. We didn't talk too much about blunder checking, but I did a lesson, I don't know if you saw, with Caitlin Codes, it's on our YouTube, about checking for blunders. That would be a good lesson to review as well. That one is just about, like, you consider a move, and then you have to spot why the move is a blunder. So you have to find the tactic for the opponent. So I think that could be some really good training as well.
Right.
Yeah, oh, I see you just redeemed another lesson. Nice. Cool. Well, we'll be seeing you again. Hopefully, maybe in a month or so, you can show me some new games we can kind
Yeah,
of revisit.
right.
That would be awesome. All right. Well, yeah. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Thanks Daniel for joining me.
Thank you, Kostas.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I think that's gonna wrap it up for the stream, guys. So I'll be heading off, sending a raid, and then I'll be back later. We're gonna do another Blitz Arena later today.
Okay. Bye, everyone.
All right. See you all.